Hey everyone, how you doing? If you are new here, I'm Nicol Concilio and welcome to the video. I'm really excited to be filming this video for you guys today. I have been wanting to film a video like this for a very long time. We're gonna be talking about all of my favorite makeup hacks and why you should start using them immediately, okay? I'm talking to you, yeah. These hacks are gonna ensure that your makeup lasts all day, looks airbrushed, isn't cakey, and no foundation separation, okay? And I'm gonna be so real with you guys right now. I have a lot of layers of makeup on, but it doesn't look like it. It still looks pretty good. And that's what I want you guys to take away from this. I wrote down a whole list of all of my favorite hacks so I wouldn't forget. And you know that expression, less is more? Well, in today's video, more is more, okay? Let's get into it. Okay, so the biggest thing here is we wanna make sure that our skin is clean and freshly washed. I went ahead and did that off camera for you guys. I also took off my sunscreen because I wanna be able to put makeup and stuff on top of it and show you how I actually do everything. There is nothing on the skin, honey, okay? One of the biggest things when it comes to makeup hacks is skin prep. The way that you're prepping your face is going to make such a difference with how makeup wears on top of it. If you have oily skin, I would recommend skipping this step, but I'm gonna go in with the Rhode Glazing Milk. This is my first little prep step. Also, I just wanna mention, you guys do not need to be putting a lot of skin prep on your face. I think that that's actually a huge mistake that a lot of beginners make, is applying way too many things at once. The biggest part of this is each step we do, we want to let it dry. Once everything is dry, we can now go in with our moisturizer, and I highly recommend using a gel-based moisturizer. You're probably asking yourself, why, Nicol? I really like using my dewy skin, or I really like this thick cream. We're not doing that no more, okay? I'm using the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Gel Cream. And the reason we're using a gel moisturizer instead of like a thicker moisturizer is because this dries down relatively fast and is very lightweight. The problem with using a thicker moisturizer is that they take a long time to actually absorb into your skin. And when you put foundation on top of it, it's gonna create that separation, some of that cakiness. So using a very thin based moisturizer is very, very good. This moisturizer is gonna work if you have dry skin, oily skin, it doesn't matter. And again, we're gonna let this fully dry before we start applying any other makeup. I'm gonna zoom you guys on in so we can get a closer look. One other thing I forgot to mention is that gel-based moisturizers are actually a little bit tackier. So you can see my skin is kind of bouncing with my finger. That's gonna be great for a primer. Everything is dry now, and I'm gonna show you guys one little trick that I like to do. I will spot primer, if you will, with the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. This is a silicone-based primer, and the reason I like it is because it helps fill in anywhere where you crease, right? So I am taking literally the tiniest amount. I'm gonna diffuse it on the back of my hand, and I'm gonna take that and just apply it on the outer corner of my eye, you know, where the crow's feet is. And the reason I do that is so that it kind of has a little bit of a base for my fine lines. Now at this point, I basically have nothing left on my hand, just like a little bit, but I'm taking that and just applying a little bit where those fine lines are. This is gonna help fill in those areas to prevent creasing. If you get them in your smile lines as well, you can do that. I'm literally only putting this in the areas where I have fine lines. When it comes to doing your brows, I like to fluff them up first. This is going to be key if you have curly eyebrows like myself. Then I go in with a brow pen. Yes, a brow pen. I only put this in the beginning part of my brow and the tail end. I leave the middle areas completely free because I want them to look as natural as possible. So let's go ahead and start. This is just gonna add a little bit more of that definition. And then in the outer corner is where I like to shape it. I'm also a little bit more sparse in this area too, so that's why I like to go in with it. You can already tell what a difference that makes. That also helps so that you don't have an overfilled brow look. Before we add our brow gels, I like to go in with a comb or spoolie once again and just fluff the brow hairs back up. This is also going going to diffuse any harsh lines that maybe we have from the brow pen. The best brow gel in the game, and I cannot believe more people don't talk about this, is the Maybelline Super Lock. And I don't use a color. The reason I don't do that is because I don't want to get a fake looking brow. So I start first with the beginning of the brow and I press up, I dunk back in, and then start on the tail part of the brow. And if you get any brow hairs that are out of place, you can use the very tip of the spoolie to kind of press it down. And again, brows are kind of all about preference. And I like to say that brows are sisters, not twins. So, you know, they're not supposed to look exactly the same, but we want them to look related, you know? When it comes to eyeshadow, you wanna make sure your eyes are primed and prepped and ready to go. I'm using the Fenty Wear Even concealer, and I'm gonna take a sponge to blend this out and tap it into the eye. This is the new Patrick Ta sponge, and it is freaking incredible. I also drag my concealer a little bit outside of the eyelid because sometimes we want to have a little bit of shadow out there or blown out. So just make sure you're doing that when you tap it into the skin. Now, I know what you're thinking. Nicole, I'm not very good at eyeshadow. Where do I start? It's intimidating. Shh, that's what I have to say to that. Anybody can do eyeshadow, and I want to show you how to do it in the most simple, easy way that always turns out flawless. Looking at an eyeshadow palette can be extremely intimidating, especially when you don't know where to start. Put it down, and instead, we're gonna start in the crease with our bronzer shade. Yes, you heard that right, your bronzer shade. Dunking into our bronzer, tap off the excess, and we're gonna start in the very center of the crease. That's where the color is gonna be deposited the most, and then we build it up with windshield wiper motions. And you can go as dark or as light as you want. This is just basically going to be our transition shade. Now, if you guys would like a more in-depth eyeshadow hack video, I can definitely do that, but for the sake of this video, we're gonna focus more on the overall makeup in general and for the sake of time. And by utilizing this bronzer, it's gonna tie in our full makeup look because this is the bronzer that I'm gonna be using later on as well. Now we're gonna switch to a different brush, and I'm gonna use a darker color, like probably somewhere in between these two, maybe mix them. All I'm gonna do is just tap that on the outer V of the eye and bring a little bit of it up into the crease. So now that we got this little bit of dimension going on, what I'm gonna do is just take a lighter color of matte eyeshadow. We're gonna use this brown shade right here, and all I'm gonna do is just pack this onto the lid and meet it where that darker shadow is. It looks pretty blown out, it's simple, looks sophisticated, and also easy as hell to do. Now moving on to the face, this is where I have the best hacks, okay? Some of them I learned from celebrity makeup artists, some of them I've just learned from being a beauty creator for 10 plus years. So our skin is fully prepped and primed, we're ready to go. We're gonna go in with my favorite foundation currently. This is the L'Oreal Skin Ink. You gotta shake it up before you use it. There's a little ball inside. And when you're applying foundation, I highly recommend whatever kind of foundation you're using to work in sections. This foundation specifically is very matte, so that's why I find working in sections works the best for it. This is huge, okay? If you want more coverage, use a brush. If you want less coverage, use a sponge. The sponge is gonna absorb, whereas the brush is gonna push it into your skin. So when you're applying it, you want to tap it into the skin. You don't want to do swiping motions because swiping motions is going to lead to like streakiness and cakiness. Tapping it into the skin is going to be your best bet. We're also going to avoid putting foundation underneath the eyes because if you're a 32-year-old lady, less is more underneath the eyes. If you have creasing or cakiness happening in your makeup, it's because there's too much product underneath your eyes. So we just avoid those areas. Now, I have some pimples that are the size of Mount Vesuvius all over my face right now. This one I just popped, but you should have seen this bitch before I did that. I'm gonna show you guys how to spot conceal as well. And we're not gonna be using concealer. Get in the crease, okay? And don't be afraid of wearing too much makeup. I feel like half the time people struggle is because they're not wearing enough makeup. If you want your makeup to last and look good, you gotta lather it on in layers. So if you want to spot correct to get rid of any redness or anything like that, a lot of people use concealer, and this is actually not good because typically the concealer that you use is brighter. So if you're using concealer over pimples, it's going to accentuate them a little bit more. So you want to actually use foundation, and I'm going to take this Skin Ink, I'm going to smooth it out on the back of my hand. I'm going to use a tiny brush, really pack it into the brush, and I'm going to go over the areas where I have those acne patches that I really want to be a little bit more concealed. And then you can use another brush to kind of blend it out. But that's the way that I've been spot concealing lately, and I really, really like it. And you really want to make sure around the nose is good too. If you want to bronze, that's a warm tone, and if you want to sculpt, that's a cool tone. Now, a lot of people will apply it directly to your face. I don't like doing that because sometimes I feel like you'll get too much product in doing so. I'm gonna take a brush and apply it to the stick, tap off any excess and push it into the back of my hand so that the brush is fully saturated. You're gonna start high and gradually bring it down and tap. This is the most important thing, is tapping. You do not want to swipe because you're going to remove foundation. You're going to get streaky lines. You don't want to be doing any of that. And a lot of the times people will start lower and swipe up. But when you do that, you're not really able to blend out the lines very well because you have to go lower to make sure everything's blended pretty smoothly. So that's why I start high and bring it down so that there's no harsh lines. And the same thing goes for your forehead. Sometimes people will start low and drag it up. I start higher and drag it down. You want to get in that hairline, honey. If it's not in your hair, you're not doing it right. Now, when it comes to contouring your jaw, you want to make sure you're bringing your contour and bronzer behind and underneath your ear. That's going to get you a very, very chiseled jaw shape. I feel like, yeah, we already know about doing it under the chin, but a lot of people miss this step where it's like putting it right underneath the ear. That really, really accentuates the jawbone. Back in the day, a lot of you guys used to think I used to get filler in my jaw. I mean, it was like a topic on Reddit for fucking years and guru gossip for years. And no, I've never done that. I've been very open and candid about the procedures that I have gotten done. So why would I lie? You know, I just take my contour and literally bring it behind my ears. That's why it looks sharp and chiseled. We're gonna place our nose contour, and I'm actually gonna use the stick to apply this. I gotta look in the mirror, otherwise I'm gonna be crooked. So we're doing, yeah, that's crooked. It's fine, it'll be fine. Going like that, and then buttoning it off at the bottom there. We're gonna take our concealer, put a line as straight as you can down the center. Let that sit and marinate. We're not blending it just yet. We're gonna move on to blush. I'm using Patrick Ta, she's blushing. And if you are someone who applies blush and then at the end of the day, or even a couple hours later, it's completely gone, this next step is going to be amazing for you. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive, but stick with me on it, I promise. We're gonna take the powder, okay? You loaded up your brush, right? The back of your hand is gonna be your best friend when doing makeup, okay? You're gonna take your brush and tap the blush into the back of your hand. What this is doing is allowing all the pigment to get seeped into all of the bristles rather than being deposited on only one part of the brush. We're gonna go in and start applying this blush, the powder, on the wet foundation. I know it sounds crazy, but please bear with me, okay? I'm gonna take some of it underneath the eyes too, on the apples of your cheeks, up by your contour. Now we're gonna use the cream on top of it. This is going to ensure that that pigment stays. I'm gonna use a sponge for this. Taking the back end of my beauty sponge, I'm gonna dip into the cream and now go over that powder with the cream. And this is going to make your blush last literally all day. And we're gonna set everything as well, so it's not gonna move around, but this is specifically for people who have issues with blush seeping into your skin. That is actually a makeup tip I learned from Patrick Ta, one of the best makeup artists in the game, and it has drastically changed my makeup, the way that it comes out. Now we're gonna take our concealer, the Fenty We're Even, and I'm applying it lower than I typically would for concealer. You know, if you guys have watched me for a long time, you know that I used to go in and like really get underneath. We don't wanna do that anymore, especially at my age. It just settles in your fine lines and does not look cute, okay? So I apply it here, I apply it lower. This is all I apply because I don't want to accentuate any fine lines that I have in my crow's feet, in the outer corner of my eye. I got a pretty cool way to blend it out. Let me show you. Make sure all your cat hair is removed from your sponge. We're gonna let this sit for about 30 seconds to a minute. The reason I do that is so that we get more coverage in these areas where I first applied the concealer. Now I'm using a creamy concealer. If you're using a matte concealer, you can't really do that because it's gonna set faster. So if you're using a matte concealer, you kind of have to go in right away. But since this is creamy, I can let it sit. We're gonna go in and we're gonna tap out this area first. We're gonna get the sides of our nose, lightly start bringing it up under the eye and blend like this and blend a little bit down. And look at how nice that melts together with the blush. Can get above your lip as well, whatever's left on your sponge. We're gonna do the same exact thing on this side. Blend and tap the sides of our nose first. Bring it up to the eye, and it blends beautifully. Now it's time to blend out our contour on our nose and say a little prayer that it works out. What you're gonna do is take your sponge and you're gonna just work up and down the nose like so. Beautiful, we did it. When it comes to powdering underneath your eyes, because we used a lot of concealer, we wanna make sure it stays in place. We don't wanna get any creasing. What you're gonna do is take your sponge, and any creasing that may have formed, you're just gonna gently swipe away. You're gonna take away any of that excess concealer, because that's the reason why your concealer is creasing to begin with, is because there's too much there. So we swipe away all that excess. Now we're gonna take my Laura Mercier translucent powder, my tried and true, and the Rare Beauty Powder Puff. This is one of my favorites. We're gonna dunk in and saturate the puff like so. We're going to tap this on the back of our hands, get all that powder into the puff, tapping off any excess. This is what your sponge should look like afterwards. We're gonna start right in the middle, tap it out to the sides first, and then bring it in to the sides of your nose. Perfect. Don't add any more, okay? Unless you are someone who is younger than me watching, maybe you have oily skin, you can bake and do all of those things. But if you're somebody who has dry skin like myself, less is more when it comes to powder. This is what you want it to look like. It still looks like skin. The under eye is set. The concealer is not gonna move around. It looks perfect. We're gonna do the same exact thing on the other side. Fill up our sponge, okay? Tap, tap, tap that excess off, okay? Act like, you're punching your ex or something. Get it all out. Now we go in and do the same exact thing. Start in the middle, work to the outer corner, and then the inner corner. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. Now, if you get oily or have combination skin where some areas are dry, some are oily, what I like to do is, since we do have some cream still left on our face, I'm going to take my brush in the powder, tap off that excess as much as you can to get it off, and we're just gonna tap the rest of our skin where the foundation is still liquid or where our creams are still liquid, and that's all you want to be doing, okay? You don't want to be doing anything more than that. Now, if your makeup's not lasting you throughout the day, it's probably because you're not wearing enough, and I know that that sounds fucking crazy, but it's true, okay? So think about it. We put down all of our creams, right? And then we went over it with translucent powder. Even though powder is translucent, it still is gonna dull down some things. We gotta bring color back into our face. So what you're gonna do is now layer on top of the cream products that we put down. I told you we'd be using this bronzer again, and here she is. This is one of my favorite bronzers that have come out in the last year. This is from Haus, and the color that I'm using is Terra Sol. Please, guys, if there's anything that I could teach you in this, is to tap off the excess and tap it into your skin, okay? Tap, tap, tap. Just tap-a-roo, tap her on in. We're gonna load up our brush, tap off the excess, pat the brush into the back of our hand so that the powder is evenly distributed. Go on in with our powder bronzer. We are adding warmth back to the face. And this is also a great combo because the contour that we used was cool tone. So you're still gonna have that cool tone sculpting element, but now we're gonna warm up the face. Tapping it into the skin, girl, all right? Under your chin, behind your ears, wherever. The world is your oyster with bronzer, okay? I'm gonna use a little bit of a brighter blush to put on top of our bronzer. This is the Haus Labs blush. I love it as well. It's in the color Dragon Fruit Days. You can do the same exact thing, okay? Tappy, 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 and tappy. Tap-a-roo. For the lower lashes, we're gonna take our bronzer again. Why not? And this is the only part I'm gonna allow you to swipe, okay? You don't need more than that. And I'm just gonna pop on a little bit of my favorite mascara at the moment. It's the same one that I have on my lashes up top. This is the Bubble Colossal from Maybelline, and I have the color Brown Black. I've been liking using more brown mascaras because it makes the green in my eyes pop a little bit more. For lip liner, we're gonna be using the Makeup Forever. This is my favorite, Anywhere Caffeine. While you're lining your lips, it really depends on the type of shape that you're wanting to get. I like a more pouty full look than more defined arches. So what I do is I actually draw a straight line first, and then I line from there. So you know what? I can just show you better than I can tell you. So just watch, okay? instantly a more pouty look. And then I line my natural lower lip. I don't really go crazy. I'm gonna use this Rhode Peptide. This is in the color Salty Tan. It looks so good. If you wanna make your lips look extra pouty, bring the gloss up to where that first line we drew. Now it's like even more pouty. We love that. We kind of have everything really matte right now. There are two different ways you can bring a little bit of definition and dimension back to your face. Number one is using a cream highlighter. Using a cream highlighter is great because it's not gonna be as vibrant as a shine, which, listen, we loved the shine, but bye-bye shine, okay? No more seeing tomorrows. I'm taking this one from Patrick Ta. It's in the shade Baby, and I'm gonna just tap it onto the skin right on the highest points to bring back some of that definition and some dewiness back to the skin. I wanna show you on this side how to do an alternative if you don't have a cream highlighter. You're gonna take the tiniest drop of moisturizer. That's as much as you want. You're going to take your sponge and tap your sponge into it, tap it all out. You're gonna go right on in on top, and it's going to add a very subtle glow. If you don't have, like you can kind of see if I move my face, if you don't have a Patrick Ta or a cream highlighter. We are basically done with our makeup, but we gotta set everything to ensure it lasts all day. So I'm gonna use two different ones, okay? This is what has been a game changer for me because like I said in my last couple of videos, I stopped birth control and my skin has been going through it. Sometimes my forehead gets oily now out of nowhere. So this is what I've been doing. We're taking the Powder Melt. This is a hydrating setting spray from One Size. We're going to spray everywhere. Let it dry. I'm using a fan to speed up the process. And now I'm gonna use a mattifying setting spray only in the center of my face because out here is still dry, but I am getting a little bit oily in the T-zone area. Until Dawn mattifying setting spray. That's all you need. And now that everything is set with our setting spray and everything, we're good to go. I wanna show you one last technique that I do that helps lift the eyes. We're gonna take some white translucent powder. You could use white eyeshadow, whatever you have. And we're going to apply it over here to lift the eye. And it does such a good job at just making sure everything is lifted. You can even see like this side compared to this side. This is also a great hack to use when you're wearing liner, like pop a little bit of white eyeshadow or translucent powder underneath, or even foundation powder that's a little bit lighter. It's going to lift the eyes so much. And this is our finished look. This is going to ensure a foolproof makeup application every single time, okay guys? These tips have never failed me. They're basically the reason why I have a career. So I really, really hope that they help you. The skin is skinning, honey, okay? But leave me a comment down below if you guys like this style of video. I still want to do a celebrity tips and tricks video like following Patrick Ta, following Mario, Ash Combe. Also, let me know if there's any hacks that you've tried that I didn't mention in this video that help you out. I would love to know. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you like what you see, please consider subscribing, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!